I was a very, very ill Tempest this week, and what do I do with my time away from work where I watch and write about wrestling? Well, I watched more wrestling, of course. Would you all have expected anything less of me? And while I lay in agony, I decided to watch my most favoritist of WWE matches, and as I continue on my trek on the comeback trail, I thought why not treat myself a little bit with a nice easy list about the absolute best of the best of WWE. There have been so many matches that have truly encouraged my fandom over the years, helping my tastes evolve and giving me experiences I will never forget. So before I get on with it, I must say this comes with a bolded and italicized opinion warning. These are my favorite matches, not necessarily the ones I think are the best, and not the ones you need to think are the best. And for the sake of making this easier on myself, I'm not including NXT matches on this list, because honestly, this would just be a list of my 10 favorite NXT matches of all time, and that is a list for another day. As it stands, I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are my 10 favorite WWE matches of all time. But before I get on with my list, make sure of course that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications to always on so you never miss a fun list just like it, and make sure that you check out the updated version of Adam Blampier's 10 favorite WWE matches of all time, and his 10 favorite non-WWE matches of all time as well. Number 10, the Kofi Mania Elimination Chamber match. I love a good Elimination Chamber match. The 2009 Edge double feature nearly made its way onto this list, but at the end of the day, it was Kofi Kingston's near win in 2019 that won out. So often with the Elimination Chamber stipulation, I find it very difficult to get invested given that it's so obvious who's going to win. The show is always so close to WrestleMania that there is so rarely any suspense around the finish, and while that very much could have been the case with this match here, the tsunami of momentum Kofi had gained from his epic gauntlet match performance on SmackDown made everyone watching, including myself, forget how unlikely it would be for him to win the WWE Championship right before WrestleMania. This match has everything you could want: an ROH callback with Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe starting, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and Jeff Hardy evening out the field with excellent work, but the final showdown of Kofi and Bryan had me and all of my friends on the legitimate edge of our seats when we watched this live. I don't think Kofi's WrestleMania title win is as satisfying without this match, and to me it is the perfect example of the pre-Mania Chamber match done just right. Number 9, Sheamus vs. Gunther, Clash at the Castle. I was very tempted to put the WrestleMania 39 three-way dance on this list because what's better than a double man meat burger besides a triple man meat burger, but this one really comes down to the environment in which I watch the matches. No disrespect to Adam, his living room, or the mountain of bean-related snacks he made for our WrestleMania watch party, but nothing will ever beat watching Gunther and Sheamus tenderize each other's chests in Sheamus's hometown of Wales, while surrounded by a few hundred ravenous friends and fans at our Wrestle Talk watch-along. That's a party right there. As for the match itself, it was just everything I wanted. It was a double serving of yeah, with a side order of Jesus Christ. Everyone knew what Walter and Sheamus could do together, and then they got in the ring and they did exactly that, and everyone loved it. Walter is a perfect wrestler. He is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, and this match was his chance to finally step up on the main roster and have his defining match. This match completely revitalized Sheamus's career as well, and ultimately, it remains one of the most fun experiences I have ever had watching wrestling with friends. Number 8, Edge vs. Eddie Guerrero, SmackDown, September 26, 2002. It is a well-known fact that Edge is indeed my favorite wrestler of all time. There were many matches of his that were long listed for this, but while I think it would be inarguable that Edge's best work came as a main event heel, a lot of the matches that were the closest to making this list were his young babyface performances from this time frame. Edge vs. Angle from Backlash and Judgment Day, Edge and Mysterio vs. Angle and Benoit from No Mercy, but for me, the one that I love most from the whole bunch is this one, Edge vs. Eddie Guerrero from SmackDown in September of 2002. Edge and Eddie had high expectations when they started feuding in mid-2002, but while their SummerSlam and Unforgiven matches were good, it wasn't until this match that their work became great, and holy is it great. With the one exception being there is a woman screaming throughout this match that is in desperate need of a tranq dart. This match is, in my opinion, the best match in SmackDown history. Eddie was such an incredibly dynamic performer. His movements in this match were so crisp and snug, whipping Edge down with a huge sunset flip powerbomb, crushing Edge with a helo with a ladder, and finally getting beat with the biggest execution of all time off a ladder. Edge and Eddie were two of SmackDown's all-time best, and this match is just such a vibe. It is very easy to see why WWE brass had big plans for Edge when he was having matches like this. Number 7, The Shield vs. the Wyatt family, Elimination Chamber 2014. To this day, there have been very few trios in wrestling that have wrestled with as much fluidity as the Shield. Like, I can really only think of the Elite and the House of Black as far as factions that move with such excellent teamwork like these guys. While other Shield matches like their debut at TLC 2012 and their matches with Evolution may be better, there have been very few matches over the last decade in WWE that have given me as much joy as this one. The story in this match was just so simple. For over a year, the Shield were the team that held the numbers advantage and were almost unbeatable because of it. Then, when the cracks were finally starting to show within the group, the Wyatt family enters to beat them at their own game, isolating each member of the Shield until they were unable to keep the evil cultists at bay. It is so brilliantly mixed with the completely distinct styles of each Shield member and the always excellent character work of Bray Wyatt orchestrating Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns against each other, as well as Luke Harper just being the goddamn best. Miss you every day, Brody. This match is just fun in corporeal form. Number 6, the 2018 Men's Royal Rumble match. Continuing the trend of life-altering live viewing experiences, we have the 2018 Men's Royal Rumble match. Maybe the best Royal Rumble match of all time, according to who you ask, but one that holds a very special place in my heart because I got to be there live and in person to see it happen. So to all of you who think this is one of the all-time best Rumbles, just know that you're right, and live it was even better. Almost everyone's favorite thing in wrestling is a great Royal Rumble, and I am no different. It's got everything: comedy spots, storylines culminating, storylines beginning, surprises, great wrestling, counting. You know wrestling fans like that. And this Rumble has it all in spades. I have been to exactly one Royal Rumble live, and I am so glad that it was this one. I mean, just listen to my reaction to Rey Mysterio's surprise return. Or my reaction to Nakamura's win. It is just a perfect viewing experience and the best possible way to get me to be a spokesperson for anyone looking to go and see a Royal Rumble live, because you should. Number 5, Jeff Hardy vs. Triple H vs. Edge, Armageddon 2008. Now this one is really an emotional pick. All of the matches on this list are on here because they had me feel in some type of way. The feeling can be different depending on the match for sure, but each of them made me feel something. When I was a youngin' watching wrestling for the first time in 2008, the story of the back half of the year was Jeff Hardy's chase for the WWE title. This was the story that had me watching, and show after show Jeff came up short. It may be a surprise to you, but I was a big Jeff Hardy fan. This totally hasn't been illustrated on our channels time and time again. So when we got to Armageddon 2008 and Jeff Hardy was set to wrestle Triple H and Edge in a triple threat match, little did I know at the time that we would get the single most emotionally satisfying win of my wrestling fandom. Other people have Eddie beating Brock, or Bryan toppling the Authority, or Kofi Mania, but this was the match I saw at the perfect time in my life to fully capture my imagination. And it certainly doesn't help that the match itself is rad too. A spear through the announce table, this gnarly ass whisper in the wind electric chair combo, and then finally this swanton for the finish. Without this match, I genuinely don't know if wrestling would have held my attention the way it did. Number 4, Shawn Michaels vs. The Undertaker, Bad Blood 1997. There are few matches in WWE history that I would consider to be perfect. This would certainly be one of them. Shawn Michaels and Cool Hand Spook have had a few matches that would definitely place high on many people's list, but honestly, their Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood 1997 still outranks both their WrestleMania matches as my favorite. The story here, again, is so simple and so effective. Shawn, the little chicken heel, is trapped in a cage with a monster and is beaten mercilessly as a result. Then when the action spills outside the cage because a cameraman is injured, Shawn climbs the cell, not because this is the time that they do a big spot, but because he didn't think that bear could climb this tree. When it became clear that that bear could climb this tree, Shawn tried to get the out of Dodge, only to be dropped through the announce table for his trouble. Just as Taker seemed primed to kill Shawn dead, leaving him in a bloody heap, we get the best wrestling debut of all time with the idiot Mayor Kane. The Hell in a Cell stip has gotten a bit overcomplicated at times in years past, but the first one still holds up as probably the best and definitely my favorite because of its simple and effective storytelling and all-time classic moments. Number 3, Rey Mysterio vs. Chris Jericho, The Bash 2009. Now this match is just so much fun. I feel like this is one of those matches that has been called underrated so many times by so many people that it has actually become properly rated, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to give it its flowers. Rey Mysterio had not gotten to have the type of match that he was having with extreme regularity in ECW and WCW during his time in WWE, while also having the placement and time allotted on a pay-per-view card to really tear the house down. Which is mad, because give Rey 20 minutes with someone who can keep up and you have a match of the year candidate. Enter Chris Jericho, and more specifically, the blow-off match of their 2009 rivalry over Mysterio's mask and the Intercontinental title at The Bash. This match is just free-flowing art. They mix Mysterio's high-flying offense with Jericho trying to ground Rey better than maybe any match of Mysterio's WWE run. The double springboard moonsault, the seated senton to the floor, the best code breaker out of midair of all time. This is just one of those magical matches where every single thing two wrestlers do clicks. Everything hits their mark. Nothing could be done better, and if it wasn't on one of the most forgettable pay-per-views of its era, this would probably be better remembered as one of the best matches of both men's careers, as it rightfully should be. Number 2, Bret Hart vs. Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13 and Survivor Series 1996. Yeah, I'm cheating a little bit here with this one, but I really do love both these matches pretty much equally, but for completely different reasons. Bret Hart and Steve Austin's roles for their matches at Survivor Series and WrestleMania are so totally different. At Survivor Series, Austin is clearly the heel, while Bret is the returning babyface, while at WrestleMania the two are on very different paths, culminating in their legendary double turn. On most days, I consider Bret Hart to be the greatest professional wrestler to ever walk the earth, and I think these may be his two greatest works of art. His WrestleMania 10 match with his brother Owen was also long listed for this project, but there is just something about the Bret Austin matches that make me feel so good. It's the raw violence of it all. These matches aren't clean and polished, they're rough around the edges and grungy, and somehow still technically exceptional. I say somehow, it is Bret Hart. These are matches that hold up marvelously, better than almost any matches of their day, and are matches I would watch the most to study when I was trying my hand at this whole wrestling thing. They will always hold a special place in my heart because of that, but there is one match that I prefer. Number 1, Shawn Michaels vs. Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 21. This is the best Shawn Michaels WrestleMania match. This is the best one. If you disagree with me, please send your discontent to me on Twitter at PQuinnell. Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels were a match made in heaven, a real honest-to-goodness dream match come to life, and at WrestleMania no less. Whereas Shawn's WrestleMania matches with the King of the Druids were also excellent, but filled with big moves and huge near falls and such, a winning formula no doubt, this match just appeals to me far more. From Shawn bamboozling Kurt by trying to out-wrestle him in the early goings, to Kurt just not being able to put Shawn away no matter how hard he tried, because despite being 100% less Olympically qualified, Shawn was still just as good at this stuff as Kurt, which only further fueled Kurt's inferiority complex, giving this match more drama and a perfect finish. If ever I need a match to lift my spirits and remind me why I indeed loved WWE, this is the one for me. And that's my list. Make sure, of course, that you like this video, subscribe, and enable notifications so you never miss a fun list just like it. And click the link above to see Adam Blancpier's 10 most favorite non-WWE matches.
While I'm mostly a fed boy, or whatever the children are saying on the CompuServe, I have seen some other wrestling. Not, like, a lot.